Discovery, go at throttle up.
Most unpleasant situation, Captain.
Hey everybody, thought I'd bring you along. As you saw from the intro, I had slammed my foot into the curb, had a bit of an injury, one of the first injuries that I've had from paramotoring. Had a good launch, but I thought I'd go ahead and post this video. It's some footage I've had for a while. It was basically, this was just an ordinary flight. We did take off from a new location, first time we'd ever launched from here. We were planning a cross-country trip to Damon Mound, the highest spot in Brazoria County, which isn't saying a lot, as you'll see in the footage here, but go into Google Maps. We scouted out some different locations. There was a private airstrip here. We called those folks, and they were happy to let us use the field, but they suggested some roads and a cul-de-sac that was just next to their air park, because their gates are typically closed during the evening and morning hours, the weekends when we would get out and fly. So we went to this cul-de-sac there on the end, and here you can see kind of a little bit of planning. Zooming in, I'm kind of checking the distance on Google Maps using the measuring tool, seeing how far we got to go, and it looks like it was about 16 miles to get to the highest point in Brazoria County, Damon Mound, from where we took off. So we'll get situated, get set up on this cul-de-sac, and get ready to launch. One of the things we had to deal with was a little bit of change in direction of the wind, and you can't see it in the frame here where I've got it, but my buddy's pickup is parked just to the east of me, and the wind turned a little bit more easterly. So I was kind of thinking, as I was launching here, I'm making my excuses. As I was launching, I was a little worried about needing to turn into his pickup. And here's my buddy Chris. He'd set up a little bit further to the north. He was going to easily avoid the pickup. Biggest thing for him was seeing if he could get airborne before he left the pavement. And his top 80 in Charger, he managed to get up in the air and up and away. So good job, Chris. I'll get set up here, get clipped in. I'll get her started. I've been really happy with the starting of my motor, my manual pull. You know, usually kind of wind it up, I guess, if you will. The flash starter, pseudo flash starter, whatever it is, one wind to that, and then a nice little pull, and she pretty much fires off right away. Give her a bit of throttle up, because I'd already warmed her up, setting over on the carrier on my pickup, and we'll get our lines and our brakes in our hands and grab the A's and get ready to go. Here I'm going to pull it up and head off across the cul-de-sac. Now, you know, my first priority here was kind of steering it in a little bit of wind that wasn't coming the direction I wanted it to be, and then I knew I'd have to jump over the curb. But as you saw in the intro, my lead foot went over the curb, no problem. I was concentrated on getting that, but what happened was a trailing foot. I just kind of, once I stepped up on the curb with the first one, I don't know, went mind blank, dead, whatever, and smashed the top of my foot. I didn't really stub the toe. I smacked it on the top against the curb, and almost stumbled a little bit, but basically ran it on out. Had a good flight. Boy, it hurt for a few minutes, but kind of settled down after 2 or 3 minutes. One thing that really struck me about this area is just how much open space there was. I mean, there's a lot of open space where I normally fly, but this was a really great place to explore from. We're going to have to go back there and fly from there again. It's just a little bit further trek, but as long as I can learn to jump the curbs with both feet, it should be a good spot. But here we are, kind of arriving at Damon Mound. Kind of hard to tell from the air, certainly from the photo. It was hard to tell in person. Didn't give it much perspective. This is the Damon Mound, an old salt dome, highest point in Brazoria County. I think I read 144 feet above sea level. So I guess if we have a tidal wave coming, this might be the place to run to. That or further inland. There's my buddy Roger. We're going to follow him around, and we'll kind of check out the area and then head back. And of course, on the way back, it's time to get down, do some low flying. Just my favorite part of the paramotoring. Getting out over this open field. Go around the corner here. A couple that hopped on their quad ATV vehicle. I think they were coming to check us out. They saw us flying low in the distance. This point in the flight, we started looking around and realized that three of us had gone out together, but we could only see two of us together at this part. So I made a phone call back and forth to Roger, wondering where our buddy Chris was. What he had done is, apparently, we found out later, had gone up to about, I think he said 3,500 feet, caught a tailwind, and he had zoomed way ahead of us, and he was back at the LZ landing takeoff point much earlier than we were, but we just carried on, kind of looked around for him for a little bit, carried on, had our fun, figured he'd get a hold of us through a text or a phone call if he needed to pick up. It's just kind of an example of one of the things I really enjoy. You know, I'm not much of an acro guy. I have learned to pull some big turns, mini wing overs perhaps, but probably for me the funnest part is being down low on a nice day, just doing a little rocking back and forth. Feeling the wing, and you know, you do that up high and it's not the same for me. You up high, you don't have the same sensation as you do when you're skirting right over the ground. So headed back, checking out the sights, looking off to the right, and here's where I spot some folks on the left. I was just cruising by, they were waving, jumping around. I got to looking at them. They were waving their arms, wanting me to do tricks or acro. So wasn't up for that. But did do a circle around, do a bit of a low pass for them. Zoom in so you could spot them. Pretty tough to see from the camera, with the camera, these action cameras, from any sort of distance. But they were over there cheering and waiting, and grinning real big at me. I really got to admit, showing off is one of the folks that are enjoying watching us. This is just such an enjoyable part of this sport. Of course, when I came across the guys that were picking up, stacking the big round hay bales, had to buzz them once or twice. We were right back at our landing point anyway. This was some of the property that the Lane Air Park is on, I think. So do a couple buzzes past them, follow Roger in. He's going to come in for a landing. I'm going to make a trip a circle around right after him and land and finish off our evening. News is here with my injured foot. I wasn't actually thinking about the foot, and it didn't really feel it too much. I guess there's still enough adrenaline running in my veins. Landings are certainly not stressful, but must be enough adrenaline that my foot was feeling fine when I first landed. But the more I walked on it, the more it started, probably the swelling wasn't too bad yet either. The more I walked on it, the more it started hurting. You may have heard me talk about the Colorado. I really enjoy the Colorado, but one of the upper lines on it are unsheathed and prone to tangle. So this, I'll show you kind of an example of what I've been doing to put it away. You know, I'm not folding it up like you would for packing and shipping kind of tight, but what I've been doing is kind of getting the lines laid out neatly, the uppers packed in the wing, and then folding the wing over on itself. Basically just getting it in a nice shape so that I can put it in the stuff bag in sort of an organized way, and the lines aren't just randomly laid out. And there comes our buddy Chris in for his landing. Got everybody back safely. It's a good day. 3 go out, 3 come in. That's the way you like to do it.
Yeah, at 3,500.
Okay, so he beat us back.
So yeah, I've been back here for like a half hour. I've been buzzing his tail and shit.
Oh,
Yeah.
I lost sight of you completely. You'll have 3 phone calls on your phone from me.
Oh really? That was fun, man.